Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Yacht-Master II reference 116681 in stainless steel and Rolex Everose rose gold. You can see and you can purchase this programmable countdown timer built for regatta on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch, with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details concerning this Rolex Yacht-Master II. Now, the model you see on my wrist debuted at Baselworld 2011, though the original Yacht-Master II launched in 2007. It wasn't until the next decade that we had this rose gold and stainless steel combination. And it is a fetching combination, as the white, red, and blue triplet of the dial and bezel pairs beautifully with the silver and the rose of the case. It's a handsome, gradual, and logical transition of tones that makes the watch read as quite attractive and imparts a level of elegance not previously seen on the Yachtmaster IIs. This creates a little bit of versatility with which the model was not necessarily born. So one of the most versatile models aesthetically. You can see it's the same size as ever on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, meaning it's a 44 millimeter case, but it's nowhere near as massive or as awkwardly shaped as the identically 44 millimeter but quite differently sized Rolex Deep Sea. Don't confuse it with that. The timepiece is slimmer than you might expect at 14 millimeters thick with a generously sloped and rounded bezel profile. It will slide easily underneath a dress cuff. You would be surprised, not just the suit jacket but also the sleeve beneath. It's all down to the profiling of the case flank and the minimal overhang of the ring command bezel. Perhaps a side effect of making the bezel a component of the movement itself, the bezel does not project excessively and expose itself beyond the bounds of the case. Now, from lug to lug, two ways to measure this watch. Almost everyone in the world is going to wear this one on the bracelet, in which case you'll find that from solid end link to rose gold solid end link, it is a substantial 57.3 millimeters across the wrist. But if you were to measure the actual lug to lug, the extremities of the case, you get a far more compact 50 millimeters, which is rather remarkable considering the size of the watch. I can say that the watch wears closer to a 50 millimeter lug to lug than a 57. It fits my 16 centimeter circumference wrist so well, I would say that even if your wrist is 14.5 centimeters in circumference, you're going to find that this one fits and sits securely. Now, the bracelet is a handsome piece and quite deluxe. You open up the two-tone matching clamshell and machined clasp, and let's go back here. You'll see that the solid end links give way to solid center links, all in Everose rose gold, which contains a high percentage of copper to create the red tones and a high percentage of platinum to prevent oxidation and fading to yellow. And then it's flanked handsomely by satin finished steel, and then on the outermost shoulders you can see a high polish treatment. All of the sizable links removed with screws, and you'll note small details that you'll appreciate, such as the placement of the crown in a slight position of overhang, so you can use that outcropping to gain access, along with a small kerf recess when opening up the clasp. You'll also note the straight through, immaculately executed, the co-molding of the two metals with absolutely zero overrun or blending. On the interior, you can see a fully finished clasp. The entry-level Rolex clasps generally are media blasted on the inside. And present and correct, Rolex's 5mm Easy Link quick adjustment system that allows you to take in or take out 5 millimeters, which means effectively you can add or remove one full sizable link as your wrist expands or contracts during periods of activity, inactivity, hot weather, or cold weather. Now, the watch itself is massive, though in profile, it doesn't have the brutally squared off case lines of the Deep Sea. It actually has a more fluid and shapely Monster Daytona or Monster Datejust profile to it. You also see the same profiling on the sides of the Day-Date. It does have dramatically more curvature and grace than the Super Case watches, with which, frankly, based on the case profile, I believe this should not be confused. It is a super watch with a large case, but it does not come across as the, quote, super case. Now let's adjust our focus one more time because we're going to stay close coupled to the bezel and the dial. This is where we start talking about the functions. The bezel itself is known as ring command, and of course, it is a turning, rotating and mechanically interlinked component of the movement itself. Cerachrome blue ceramic on the top means it's exceptionally scratch resistant, effectively just as scratch resistant as, for example, the sapphire crystal over the dial itself. And then you can see the rose gold has been deposited into the recesses for the numerals as well as the name. Now what you want to do is you want to take a good look at the dial. There will be a lume shot at the end. Also take note that this is the pre-2017 pre-Mercedes hand dial, just so you know exactly what you're looking at. The dial is white, but it's only a semi-gloss. It's not the blinding gloss that you see on some Rolex white dials like the Polar Explorer 2. The better to remove some glare. Now you'll see all applied rose gold indices with lume and then an inner track that spans the minutes from 10 to 0. You'll also note constant seconds at 6 o'clock. Now what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate the basic function. It is a countdown timer for regatta or sailboat racing. Now what you want is the precise countdown to the time that the match, which is one individual race within a regatta, begins. And there may be several different countdown times. Because of the variable countdown, it's important to have a timer that's able to span the full spectrum of likely countdown times. And in a regatta, that generally means between 1 minute and 10. Now you could see I have a vertical clutch column wheel chronograph caliber 4161, and because of that I have crisp actuation. It's a tactile pleasure to use. I can hear it, and you'll note that when the chronograph starts, it starts without any stagger or jump because of the vertical clutch. Now, if you prefer to have central seconds on your Yachtmaster II and just leave it running, you can do that too. There's no additional wear and tear involved in leaving a vertical clutch running, unlike a lateral clutch, and moreover, there's no additional wear and tear or risk to your Yachtmaster II if you decide to just leave the chronograph running. Now let's get a little bit deeper into the machine. You'll note when I press the reset trigger at 4 o'clock without stopping that it is a flyback chronograph. Now what it'll actually do is fly back or forward. So if it is counting down from, for instance, 5 minutes to 4 minutes, and there's 4 minutes and 31 seconds still on the clock, and you press flyback, well, it's going to fly back to 5, but if, for instance, there's fewer than 30 seconds left on the clock, it'll actually fly forward to 4. It will actually jump to the nearest minute rather than strictly jumping back. Now, the other important feature of this chronograph is that it is programmable and it has a memory. And this is where we want to really take a look at how it's set, because there's a great deal of misunderstanding surrounding this watch. Some folks are a little bit intimidated by it. In reality, you should regard it as one of the most user-friendly and useful Rolex complications, as I find almost anything I time with a chronograph generally amounts to just a few minutes, and the bigger and more readable the chronograph displays, forget subdials. I want big numerals and hands. The more likely I am to use my chronograph. So whether you're timing fish tacos on the grill, the kids' time out, interval before a meeting reconvenes at work, you'll find that the programmable timer is quite useful. Now you thread the crown out. The watch is also 100-meter water resistant, and what you do is you turn the ring command bezel counterclockwise until it stops. Then you press in the pusher at 4 o'clock, and then what you do is you turn the crown clockwise in the neutral position, and you select the minute you want. Let's say I want 9 minutes. Okay. Now, turn the ring command bezel back till it stops. You'll note that the pusher used to activate the system pops out automatically, and now you'll note the crown simply winds the watch. Thread the crown back in, and now you've programmed your watch. And every time you reset the chronograph, it will default back to that minute that you've set unless you reprogram it. So it's both a countdown and a mechanical memory. Let's talk a little bit more. May as well start it up again for a little bit of visual fireworks. We may as well talk a little bit more about caliber 4161. At the time it debuted, it was the most complicated Rolex movement ever made, surpassed only slightly by the 9001 in the Sky Dweller, which has fewer jewels but more parts overall. Now, it is everything you expect of a Rolex caliber. It is refined, it is tough, it is sophisticated, it is precise. We may as well talk about each feature in sequence. Refinement. It is a COSC certified Swiss chronometer. Rolex then recases the movement, and as a fully cased up watch, ensures that the movement still beats the COSC tolerances of -4 + 6 seconds per 24 hours. It beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour, And it features a full balance bridge and a free-sprung balance to make it shock resistant, an overcoil hairspring, Breguet style, to resist gravitational or positionally induced timing deviation. It features the Parachrom Blue proprietary alloy on the hairspring to resist magnetism. Of course, it does have a longer power reserve than most Rolex timepieces that were available in 2011, as it has the 72-hour capability that we associate with the new 3235 or the 6-digit Daytona, which was the first to debut that technology. It also has Liga profiling and etching of the wheels in its train, which is technically impressive, but an unadvertised feature of the watch. Just know that it makes it more precise and impressively engineered. Of course, 100 meters water resistant. This is a watch that you can wear and use in all occasions. Whether the color and character of the watch suits all occasions is beside the point. It's ergonomically quite comfortable, a very practical chronograph for almost all applications, and it wears well on a small wrist with plenty of panache. You can see this one and decide for yourself on our website. And we're back with the Rolex Yachtmaster II 116681 in rose gold and stainless steel, but you wouldn't know by the light of the blue chromolite proprietary Rolex luminescent material. Though focused on regatta, nevertheless, this is a night and day watch. As you can see, easy to read the time in any light or even no light. See it and all of its functions and features by the light of day on our website.